Good morning. It is day 25, Thursday, the 25th. And I can't believe, this month has felt like so many things have happened during it. I've visited so many family and friends, and a lot has been going on. And yet it also feels like it's raced by, and the summer is quickly coming to an end. I'm not ready for that yet, but I did end up finishing A Good Girl's Guide to Murder last night, and I did want to talk about that a little bit. I'm still having a hard time figuring out. I don't know how I want to rate that one. I have gotten back to Road Tripped, which I had started very briefly on one of my early days of this trip, which is this romance that is basically about a road trip, and I kind of thought it'd be fun to read that on my road trip journey. I don't remember the name of the author. I will put it here so you can see it. And so far, it's supposed to be comedic in a lot of ways. It just seems a little obnoxious. I hope that that's not true the whole way through. The characters seem very superficial at this point, and I'm like, that'll be annoying. But it's meant to be a fun romance. I don't often expect a lot from romances just because I go into it thinking it's going to be a romance and you're going to get the formula, you're going to get a lot of cheese, and that can be a great thing. It can be a lot of fun. I'm still really, really early on, and the intention at this point is for these characters to seem superficial. So right now, we've basically just met this girl who works, for some weird reason, her best friend is a total jerk, trust fund baby who owns this business, and she works for him, but she hates the work she does for him because everybody around her is just partying and drinking the whole time. And there's this guy named something with a W, and he's this gorgeous southern dude, and she's like, he's just slept with everybody in the whole office, or at least she believes he has, and she refuses to fall for his charm. But apparently she has in the past. In the past, she was a party girl just like all these other people, and apparently she got burned at some point, and so she doesn't do that anymore. I'm going to stick with it and see how I enjoy it and see if these characters improve. And we haven't got to the road trip part yet. We're still in the office where people are just ridiculous. I've worked at companies, startup companies, where there are lots of people who, they have the keg on tap there, and they have all the food, and they have all the drinks, and they do party, they take shots after they make sales and stuff like that. The salespeople were never this obnoxious, where they're just basically drunk all the time at work. And I'm like, how do they get anything done in this book? But we'll see. Withholding judgment. Am I? Am I really? Maybe not. I'm about 67 to 70% of the way through The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And, it's fine. It's not necessarily one I really intended on reading at any point. Maybe I was like, oh yeah, I'll read that eventually. But I just was never completely drawn to it. And I'm finding it's just not really doing a lot for me at this point. The story itself. And maybe it's because I'm reading it on an audiobook, but I don't have a choice. I need to get this done for Tales from Two Trails. I always think it's strange to read a book just because you have to, not because you want to. I really wanted to get points for my team. There's moments where I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then there's moments where I'm like, okay, I'm just listening to it, And so we'll see. I'm getting pretty far through. I don't necessarily see the point of the story yet. I know there's a lot of philosophical implications because we're looking at society in 800,000, something, and these concepts are brought up of what our society would have evolved to. And he's exploring that because at first he thinks that we've just become these little teeny weakling humans that have no competition, and therefore we don't need to defend ourselves, and they're living this very simplistic lifestyle because they don't have a lot of dangers and things in their lives. But then we find that there's this other community of what people have evolved to, and they're completely different, and it changes the whole story in a sense. For him as an explorer, it changes the whole story of what his idea of the world of 800,000 actually was and where humanity came to. And he's very judgmental, and he has these opinions that are based on just very limited. He doesn't seem to ask much or explore much or be open-minded to learning more about other things. I don't know. It's strange. He just kind of like accepts that this is the way people are. He's the outsider here, so he doesn't really actually know. He's just making a whole bunch of assumptions, which like is very colonialistic in the way that people have traveled to other places and then put their assumptions on the people that they have conquered, or, you know, places they've gone to. They go, oh, these are what these people are like. Okay, I see. And then they treat the people based on that. And yeah, that's very much how our main character reacts with the people that he has encountered in this story. I'll be interested to read reviews and hear what other people had to think about it, because I can think of a lot of other books that are a lot like this. Maybe not a lot. I can think of a handful of other books that are a lot like this, like Gulliver's Travels and things, that I really enjoyed, that I liked a lot more and had more interest, but then also dug a lot deeper into society. And they were just, I liked them better. They were more entertaining. They had more, I don't know, they had more to them. And the conversations were, I thought, a little more fleshed out. And this is a short story, so I have to be a little more like, okay, it's not a very long one, whereas all those other books have a lot more space to say the things that they want to say. But yeah, just if I'm going to be reading a book like this, I'm going to pick up a Gulliver's Travels, or I know there's other examples that I can't think of right this moment, but I'm going to pick up those books instead. So I need to get up and get things packed here so I can go back over to my dad and my stepmom's place. And I'm just feeling lazy today. I was really lazy yesterday. It was great. I literally sat on the couch for most of the day and just read my book, got A Good Girl's Guide to Murder done, and I worked on computer stuff, worked on the Herculean stuff, worked on other things I needed to get done. So, like, it felt wonderful, but I can't do that today. I've got to actually get up and do some other things. But I'm so lazy, I don't feel like putting my glasses on. I'm just like, went to bed pretty late last night, though, so that could be why. So for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I don't know how to rate this one because I did enjoy aspects of it, but I think, actually, I do know how to rate it. I'm going to give it a 3.75, and I think that the very, very end brought it up from a 3.5 because I probably would have given it a 3.5. I did find this to be an entertaining story. I liked the writing style in the sense that it was easy for me to read and I wasn't not enjoying the writing. Whereas I know that some of the people, especially in our book club group, were not enjoying the actual writing and maybe the formatting and stuff. I didn't mind that. I would have loved more detailed writing, but that's just because that's my taste in writing. I just thought that it was an efficient and effective writing style for what it needed to be. So I didn't mind the writing. Pippa was annoying, but I expect that from teenagers, especially a teenage protagonist, because they often make really bad choices and think that they have to do everything on their own and put themselves in danger. And, you know, everything was very convenient in this. And that was a little YA. Like, you know, not such a big deal. I didn't mind that so much. It really was the plot and one of the big reveals that just annoyed the hell out of me. There are many reveals in this. Not many. There are several reveals. I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns in this because you're constantly thinking it could be this person, it could be that person, it could be this person. And what actually is the reality was not something I enjoy in mystery thrillers. Like, you know, one of the types of mystery thrillers, it's just not something that I enjoy. And I can't tell you anything about that because it would give it away. So I'm not going to tell you anything about that. But I can say it's just not something that I like reading in books. And so I was like, really? Had to go that direction. Okay, whatever. But at the very end, there was some added stuff to it. There was other things that came about that I was like, okay, I like that. I like that they added that to it and it wasn't just this one other thing. Overall enjoyment, yeah, definitely 3.75 because it wasn't a book that I thought was great. It wasn't in the 4-star range for me. It was enjoyable, but I really didn't have a hard time putting it down. There were a lot of times when, like, I would read a little bit and then I put it down. Read a little bit, put it down. And it's like, I shouldn't be doing that with a book that's YA and short. Like, it wasn't a very long book, but it took me a long time to get through it. Am I looking forward to going on with the series? Yeah, sure. It feels like it could be done with this one. You don't really need any more. I mean, that leaves little openings here and there for stuff to happen later on, but I just don't think you necessarily need this to be a series. It could have been a standalone. That would have been fine, but we'll find out. We'll find out what happens in the second book, and I'm glad to be reading this with a group because I can't wait to hear everybody else's opinion on it. And I know some people's opinions on it, the people that really did enjoy it and the people that didn't enjoy it at all. And it'll be fun to have the conversation about this one because I'm really in the middle. I'm not one of those people that didn't love it at all or absolutely loved it. I'm pretty middle of the road with this one. So, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Hey, I got that one done. I've got to figure out how it's going to work for my bingo board. Oh, I already know. how it's going to work. It's going to work for the prompt iced because a slang word or another word that you use for murder, and this is a murder mystery, is you iced someone, the word iced. I know it's kind of sad, but I'm going to use this book for that particular prompt. I'm going to start getting ready. Stop being lazy. Here, look. Step 1, put your glasses on. Look, it's my face. For iced, I'm doing The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
It's hard to do this with one hand and hold the paper steady while I'm using my camera.
Okay, so not anywhere near bingo yet, but getting me a little closer. The other thing I've decided to do, because I wanted to use tortilla flat for something, and I couldn't figure out at first what it would work for, but hear me out. And this is me using my no, I'm not negotiating because this is my game, but this is me using my logic. Here we go, logic. Okay, so I'm going to use it for fruit. I had something else there, but I'm not worried about that. I'm going to use tortilla flat for fruit, and here's why. One of the main characters, not really the main characters, but one of the most important parts of this book is the gallon of red wine. In every single little story, it's all about getting a gallon of red wine. They're constantly drinking wine. It's all about this wine. Wine is made of grapes, and that's a fruit. And since wine is such a prominent part of this book, I think it works for fruit. And all you naysayers out there, too bad. I'm using it. So here we go. Tortilla flat works for fruit because wine is such a huge part of this book. It's a really big part of the book. If you don't believe me, ask the dishes. They can sing, they can dance. Okay. Okay. Oh, yes, yay! And I've already started You're Invited, which is the book I was planning on reading for the beach. So if I can get You're Invited done at some point in the near future, my reading has not been going quickly, then I can get a bingo board. And I just started rereading Road Tripped, so that will work for this. So then Road Tripped, You're Invited, if I read those two next, I would get 2 bingos. I'm doing pretty good. And then A Curious Beginning, which I've decided to actually wait for Pickpongathon as long as you've read only 49% of a book. Like you haven't read half of the book, you can count it for the readathon. So like I can actually use a book that I've read 49% of for the readathon and it'll count. And so I was like, oh, strategy. I'll finish it at the beginning of August and it gives my team points. I shouldn't be telling you my strategy. Unless you're on my team, then start a whole bunch of books and don't finish them. And then I remembered that Pickpongathon is based on the number of pages you read. So that strategy it's helpful in the sense that oftentimes when you're that far into a book, it's a lot easier to read it quicker. So it's helpful from that perspective, but it's not actually helpful. And Pickpongathon has already started, so that strategy is not going to benefit anybody. Except me, I guess. I am home, so clearly I did not do an outro for this video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. This was not a B-roll heavy video, but it was a book heavy video, so that's awesome. And subscribe if you want to see more videos that have B-roll. There will be more coming up. And if you want to hear more about my bookish thoughts, please do subscribe. Come join my little community. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.